Well, welcome to everybody. And today I'm talking to Máírín Noone. And Máírín, you're very welcome. And thanks for agreeing to be interviewed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. So, Máírín, just to welcome here today to us and to YouTube. Welcome to YouTube. You're going to be on YouTube now, but welcome to that. So, we just want to welcome you, Máírín, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, Máírín.
Well, my name is Máírín Noone. I live in Culduff. I've been there 42 years at this stage. I came from Tumyesh. I was Máírín Peyton in Tumyesh, and I had practically an idyllic upbringing, I think, in Tumyesh. It's a beautiful village. Had a lot of people that time, not so many people now. It's a strip of green land between the bogs and the River Moy. And we used to go fishing in the Moy, working in the bog, of course, saving hay, all the things that children did back when I was young, which isn't today or yesterday. But most of my favourite memories of my childhood involve going to the river or going visiting with my mother. My very favourite childhood memory actually is, and I can still feel it to this day, is we used to go to visit an old lady called Máírín Noone. She was known as Mary Knapp. And I remember going one winter's night when the moon was out and the stars were all out and it was really cold and frosty. And Mum had a torch and walking down a big long boring down to a little village called Closh, which was part of Tumyesh, down to Mary Knapp's house. And I remember looking at the sky and holding my mother's hand, because I was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and feeling that the world was such a wonderful place.
It was a lovely memory.
It's my very favourite memory.
Lovely memory to have.
Yeah, we had a lovely upbringing. Like, of course, there were problems. Mum lost a baby and had bad health for a while, and but in general, we had a fairly good upbringing.
That was lovely. Yeah. That was lovely.
And Tumyesh is still lovely.
Well, thanks, Máírín, for that question, for that answer that you gave us. You spent a long part of your life as a teacher, Máírín, so I'm going to get you to talk a bit about that.
I spent 38 years teaching. My first 3 months teaching were in Foxrock in Dublin, and I remember back that time things were different. There wasn't such competition for jobs, and I was more or less offered the job in Swinford. And I remember crying because I didn't really want to come home, but my mother had been praying and my grandmother had been praying, and I sort of felt pressured into it. But in the long run, it was a great move. I had 38 years there, and I can't say that I didn't enjoy it. I really loved teaching. Now, I never really got to a class higher than third class. I think third class was as high as I went. I had junior infants, senior infants, first class, second class, third class. And for years and years, I can't remember how many years, maybe half my teaching years, I did the first communion class. And I really loved that, because at that age, children are just so innocent, so lovely. Now, you'd always have the few bold ones, of course, but you get around that. Yeah. But I really did enjoy the teaching. And I loved teaching First Communion. I loved telling them about Jesus and the different stories and Zacchaeus. And I also loved getting it into the children's heads that everybody was equal. Nobody was more important than anybody else, that God loved them and God loved them just as much as he loved the richest man in the world, and they were just as important. So yeah, I loved my years teaching, both with the nuns in my early years. There was only one other lay teacher in the school, Josie Ford, and then gradually more lay teachers came in, and then in 1990 the school amalgamated with the boys' school across the road, and then we had male teachers as well. So changes down the years, but I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, well, it's great that you enjoyed it, because that would have conveyed itself to the children as well, that you were happy.
I did,
so then they would be happy. That kind of idea.
In general, I loved the teaching,
That was great.
Which amazed me when I retired. I really did think I'd miss it an awful lot.
Obviously, yeah.
But believe it or not, I didn't.
Yeah, well, you have probably so much else on your hands.
Yeah, I had a lot of other things. And as well as that, the principal who took over after me made me feel very welcome in the school. And well, he had been there previously, but he came back and he made me very welcome, and I was able to go in and out on a voluntary basis and cover classes because I kept my teaching council number for a few years.
You were right.
Yeah.
Probably right to that. The next question I have for you, Máírín, is something I think dear to your heart as well. It's the whole thing about plays. I know you've been involved, and so your husband Marty as well have been involved in plays for probably a very long time too. So just to talk about that, because I think that's a very special thing.
Well, I think I'm trying to remember now. I think my first involvement with the drama group here in Killasser was in like 1974 or 75. They were doing the Playboy of the Western World. No, I wasn't in it, but I was helping with props and things like that. And then gradually I started to get parts. I remember one play we did called The Flats, and it was a very deep sort of a play about the troubles in the north. And I was in that, and I was in a play about a disabled boy called Johnsy, and I remember Joe Price, God rest him, was in that, and he was brilliant. So many plays down the years until I had 4 or 5 children, and then it became a little bit more difficult. Marty continued, but I kind of dropped out. There was a great drama group in Killasser. And apparently, not that I know that much about it, but there were great drama groups years before that as well. I was talking to Philip Howley, and he was telling me that his dad, Philip, was in a play called The Marriage Lottery years and years ago.
Lottery, I think.
Marriage is a lottery, okay. And that Micheál Murphy was involved, and Kevin O'Keefe and several other people. And we were just saying, wouldn't it be great if we could get a few people together and do it again? It'd be a great idea.
Because I was in the play once myself, Máírín. What I can remember about it was the fun in the rehearsal, the actual, and the fun we had together.
Oh yeah, we had such fun in that class for drama group. Like everyone was so relaxed, and we just had great fun. Like there was no one bossing as such. No. Father Pádraig Brennan was the director in the early years when I was in it. And then Mary Jo Murray was there. And Tommy Rowley from Clunainra, and a few different people. And they were so nice. You know, they got you to do what you had to do, but they weren't bossing you as such. They had a nice way with them, yeah. So the fun never went out of it. But gradually, the drama in Killasser seemed to die out. It was a major pity, and I joined groups in Swinford. And at the moment, I'm in a group called the Railway Players, who haven't so far done a proper play, but we're planning on doing a play soon. We have been in variety shows, we have done talent competitions, we have done musical summer camps for children, various things like that. A lovely group called the Railway Players. But I know that Máírín Noone and Joe McNulty and John Gallagher and various other people around would love to get back on stage in Killasser.
So maybe if we got a few more local people, we might be able to put on a play here.
It would be great. It would be great.
Please God, we will.
Yeah, it would be one of our ambitions. Yeah,
well, that's good to know. So another question then, also involving performance of one kind or another, would be Comhaltas. And just to tell us what Comhaltas is, Máírín, and talk about it, and your involvement in it and all that.
Comhaltas is big. Comhaltas is an international organisation, started in Ireland but has spread all over the world. They have branches in Australia and Japan, and I don't know where else, but all over the world. It promotes Irish culture. It promotes Irish music, singing, dancing. It started in 1951 and grew in strength from year to year. In 1961, we had an All-Ireland Flacchiole in Swinford. There was a group of very enthusiastic young men, mostly young men. I don't know actually were there any women involved at that stage, but they were very enthusiastic and they wanted to get a flacciole in Swinford. They set up their Coltis branch in 1958. In 1951 they had a fla, a Connacht fla or a Mayo fla, I'm not sure. And in 1961, with the help of a very strong parish priest who was in Swinford at the time, his name was Canon Stinson, and Canon Stinson encouraged them. He had garden parties and he invited all the top people in Coltis down and he swung it for them that they got a flacciole in Swinford, and it was one of the best until that date. And since then, the Michael Davitt branch of Coltis in Swinford has increased in numbers and has had dips and hollows, sometimes where there weren't so many members. At the moment, it's quite strong. And we run music classes. We do concerts. We run a pageant every year as part of Siamsa Sráide. We run a summer school every year as part of Siamsa Sráide. And we like to get involved in all the different activities that are in the town.
Well, that's brilliant, Máírín. The people from this parish I know who have figured very prominently as well.
There are some brilliant musicians in this parish, and there always were. Killasser had a great band years ago. I remember hearing about them. I remember my mother talking about them. I remember actually seeing them in St. Patrick's Day parades. At least I think I do, unless that's a learned memory. But there was always great music in Killasser, great flute players, fiddle players, button accordion players. You have Michael Cronley up the parish who actually makes flutes.
That's right.
You have different families down the years. I'm trying to think now, I don't want to insult anyone by forgetting them, but you had the Stinson family who were very musical. We had... At the moment, there are two Highland families, Paul's family and Eamon's family, and there's also Carmel Heaney's children, and they are so musical.
They're very talented.
Yeah, very talented.
It's lovely to see that.
Oh, it is.
And please God, maybe when people see this, it might encourage others to get involved too. You never know.
And they're very generous with their time and their talents. If there's something going on, you make a phone call, and they'll be there. They'll come. Yes. Whether it's to sing or dance or play, they'll come, and they're very generous with their time.
So you have a passionate interest in Coltis, Máírín, and have you ever thought as to why you have that big interest and that big willingness to get involved and do a lot for Coltis?
I think a lot of it has to do with my upbringing. My mother's family in particular now, not dad's family so much. My mother's family were quite musical. Mum sang, Uncle John played the drums, my grandmother sang, my brother Pádraig and PJ, both of them played the accordion. I wouldn't be musical myself, but quite a strong family background in music. But when we were growing up, there was a teacher in the school in Tumyesh who was very into music and traditional arts. And actually, he was one of the founders of the branch in Swinford, Sean McNicholas. And he used to hold regular céilís, and he taught tin whistle. And, he gave us a great background in Irish culture. And then, as the years went on, I found my own family, Catherine in particular, and Marianne, and all of them. I'm going to name them now in case somebody gets insulted. There's Catherine and Marianne and Bríd and Pádraig and John and Peter, and they're all quite musical. They all sing and they all can play an instrument. So I got involved with the Coltis in Swinford in the year 1999 because the branch was going through a bit of a slump and there was a danger that it was going to die. So a few of us, Anne Groark, God rest her, and I and Frank McCann and a few people went in and got involved.
Well, it was good that you did because you kept it going and it's thriving more than it was that time anyway, I'm sure. So thank God for that.
Yeah, it's going well now at the moment.
Thank God, when we talk about music and Catherine, I'm just thinking about the choir in Carlow and church activities and that, and you've been involved in church things as well. So maybe you'd like to say a bit about that, your involvement in church things in the parish as well, Maureen.
Well, I suppose I got very involved in church activities through being the first communion teacher in Swinford for so many years. And I got very used to going in and out of the church and, being involved. And then when I came to Callow, well, Callow Church is such a beautiful little church, and there's such a lovely community in Callow. I remember being made welcome straight away. And there was a funny incident not that long after we were married. I was in church, and then I suddenly felt faint and I had to go out. And after Mass, all the ladies were saying, "Congratulations, Maureen." And I presumed I was pregnant, which I was.
Oh,
But anyhow, that's one way of letting everyone know.
yeah,
Faint in church.
faint in church.
But
I wish more people would faint in church. And maybe that'll happen.
yeah, but I just got involved in the choir and have stayed involved in the choir. And I think Callow Choir has been lovely all down the years. Like, fair play to Etna McLaughlin. She did Trojan work there. Now, I know we're having a little bit of a lull as far as an organist is concerned at the moment, but my own Catherine does it anytime she's around. But we have some beautiful singers in Callow. Some of the, very few, but they're all lovely singers.
They're very sweet voices.
They have lovely voices.
That's what I noticed about them.
Yeah.
Rarely would they ever sing a flat note or anything.
No, excellent singers.
Never happened since I came, which is fair length of time.
I won't start naming because I'd surely leave someone out. But they're exceptional.
No, they are.
They're exceptional.
But they have their voices are very sweet. That's what I noticed.
And they're so good at picking up hymns. Oh, yeah. Just one practice and they practically have it.
It comes naturally to them. It's very easily to them.
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. Yeah. Our organ was in a bit of bother, but we've got a new one now anyhow, courtesy of the Kane family who donated it in memory of Tom and Mary, both of whom were in the choir for years and years. And one of our favourite memories of Tom is that when choir was over every Sunday, he'd make a joke about, well, somebody gave plenty birdseed this week. So he used to make jokes about it.
Yeah, he would. God rest the two of them. Yeah. So, Maureen, look, thanks very much. We've touched on a lot of topics now, and a lot of what you were talking about is the whole thing of community too, quotas and plays and the church and schools, of course, are part of community as well. So that's such a big thing, and it's such a necessary thing. And now after the COVID, we kind of need to rebuild community again, I think. We
sure do. Actually, community is one of my pet things. Any activities we've had in Swinford, we've had flagpoles. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flagpoles in Swinford since I joined the Cultus. And to get the whole community involved is so very important. And we have a great committee in Swinford and the Cultus, and they all work at getting various elements of the community involved. Like we had a really good Connacht flagpole in 2019, and the whole community got involved. The businesses, the tidy towns, the council, everybody. Like we got great cooperation.
And that's what makes it a success.
And that's what makes things a success, and it brings a good feeling to an area when the community are working together.
And you see, when something succeeds, there's a great sense of pride that we did a very good job.
And we're part of it.
Yeah, we're all part of the success. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's one of my things I really feel strongly about is involving community, involving people as much as possible. Yeah.
And the last question then, Máírín, and thanks for being interviewed and for talking and your contribution and your enthusiasm for the different things you talked about is, would you like to add anything now to what you've said? Because you remember YouTube often is watched by younger people, people younger than ourselves. So would you have any message, would say, for them? Because they might be the ones watching it, but hopefully some of the older ones will as well.
I hate the thought of being on YouTube.
Yeah, but you'll become a star now, Maureen.
But anyhow, well, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, self-confidence is
Yeah.
so important, to believe that you're as good as the next person and that nobody is better than you, really. Even though you might think they have more money or they have better looks, but in God's eyes, everybody's equal. You're just as important as the next person, is a message that I always try to give young people. Everybody is as important as everybody else. Nobody is more important than you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good attitude. It's a positive attitude, I suppose.
And get involved.
Yeah.
The other thing is, get involved. It's good. It's good for your mental health. It's good for everything. Get involved in your community.
And people that do, I think, have great fun. That's one of the things I would always notice, or involvement that I have myself. It's the fun element, and you actually make great friends as well. There's great relationships are built up as well. So everybody benefits then.
Yeah, you have to take the chance and get out there and join. Join drama groups or join the gardening club. Join anything, something that takes your fancy. Join it and get involved and be involved, and you'll be better off for it.
You're right, Máírín. Absolutely. Listen, thanks, Máírín. Thanks a million, and I appreciate it. And we say goodbye now, but we hopefully, those of you who are watching, would love to interview some of you as well. But of course, unless you agree, we can't much about it. But thanks, Máírín, for agreeing yourself. Thank you. Thanks a million.